right, welcome to another episode of the Educators podcast. And whoo, am I excited for this one? Joining me not only is the prima awesome musician of Hermitage Elementary. She is the chief of music learning. She's also a very close and dear personal friend of mine.
Yes,
she is the unfiltered, irrepressible, outspoken, lovely, awesome Jill Kane. Jill, welcome to the Educators podcast.
Thank you for that enthusiastic introduction, Mr. Burden.
It's very well, you know me. I tend to be a little bit enthusiastic.
A little bit.
I truly am excited to have you, Jill, because I mean, you and I have had chats. Our buddy Kane has had chats about a lot of the stuff, the good, the bad, and the OMG of education. And I do hope you enjoyed that special birthday message from Doc A.
Ron. That was very special to me. Yes, very special, very unexpected, very nice surprise on my birthday back in March.
It's good to know. It's good to know the upper management.
Absolutely. Stopped at the gas station just to be able to watch it before I got home.
Well, it's really cool because you came into Hermitage. You actually replaced a family friend of mine, Chrissy Donovan, who's friends with my parents, and they go way back. It was really cool to have you come in and really just bring some awesome stuff. So many cool memories, like the stuff that you would do with the kids, like the technology and whatnot. Like I remember it was one of our friends. He made his own music, and we called it bus dismissal
is treacherous.
It's treacherous.
Yes, that was one of your former students whose younger sister just wrapped up 5th grade.
Yeah,
you can believe that.
We're kind of glad that happened.
That's right. And I saw him a couple times at the school this year. That student you're talking about, and I reminded him about that, and his response was he walked away from me. I mean,
I also hear he's like 8 feet tall now.
He is. Yeah.
And he's like, hey, Jill, hey, Miss Kane.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah.
What I loved about it too, because he explained he had put a lot of thought in it. For those that don't understand it, the bus dismissal procedures have been treacherous, and we can definitely dive into that. But the what he did is he had this ensemble of music, and it was like we had. It was this technology where you can bring in trumpets and drums.
That's
and everything.
Right. Yeah, it's a music composition software. Yeah.
He slowly faded out each instrument until there was just one left, and then that was it. And that to me personifies how bus dismissal is.
Yeah. And he had some dissonant chords there in the middle too that really made you cringe a little bit when you were listening to it.
Well, bus dismissal can make you cringe a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And it's interesting because in a lot of my chats with colleagues and folks in the education industry, especially those in the classroom, over the last 10 years, the shift in staffing where specialists are being pulled for a lot more things that aren't really part of their job.
Absolutely.
And even the word specialist is becoming coach, which I think that's on purpose. I think there's a bit of a push to kind of save money, perhaps on hiring extra staff, so that when I think a lot of people don't understand when you take a job as a music specialist or music coach or what have you, that you're also going to be doing a number of things that aren't in your job description or are vaguely listed now in your job, vaguely worded. What's your feeling on that? And is it something that should be expected, or are we getting gaslit?
Oh, I have strong feelings on that, as you can imagine, because my ultimate stance on that is, when you place the only person in the building with credentials for the job that they're doing, when you place them elsewhere into a job that can be performed by people without specialized credentials, I can't think of a bigger waste of the school's resources. I'm the building musician. I'm there to create and deliver music instruction that has to be differentiated for children that, on just the widest range of ability that you can imagine. We've got kids that have no musical experience whatsoever, and some of them come into the school in 5th grade with no, they moved from an area that didn't have music. So they're joining classmates and with absolutely nothing. And then on the opposite end, we've got kids that take private lessons, take private lessons. Their parents are musicians, being that we feed the School of Music, the Armed Forces School of Music is right there, and all that base housing is zoned for Hermitage. We've got some students that are very musical and come from very musical families.
Yeah.
So it's a shame. It's a waste of resources, and it's a waste of the school's budget to place me in the cafeteria for
wiping down tables. Unless
wiping
you do it
down
musically.
tables. Right.
Yeah.
Which, we
If you're
talk
humming,
about
as long
that.
as you're
yeah.
humming this tune like
That's
Hot
it.
Cross
That's
Buns
it.
while you're.
But how does that benefit all these students, these 600, 700 students who, are getting music education, state mandated, by the way, at least the state of Virginia still guards that music instruction, unlike some, but, it's, whether administrators see the value in it too, or not, or agree with it, it doesn't matter. It's for the children, it's for the students, and it's written into their school day, just like art, just like PE. So to then, be told, hey, you got 6 sections of classes, actually 7, really, 6, kindergarten through 5th grade general music, with that variety of abilities that we just talked about, plus chorus, plus 5th grade chorus. And then depending on which school you're at, you might also be responsible for strings. And again, this is just in Virginia.
Yeah.
But, all that prep, you're the only one. And entering grades for all those kids too, 4 to 8 grades per student times 600-ish. That requires a lot of planning to do it well. And
but it's
then
a good thing we have planning time, though.
Yeah, it's when it exists,
I've heard of that mythic concept of planning time. I've heard of that before. It's kind of like that 30-minute lunch that just seems to escape us all.
Right. Yes. Well, and back to your original question, it's like that should be guarded just as much as the instructional time. If you want quality instruction being planned, well, we need the paid contract time to plan it. I shouldn't be spending it, sweeping up taco shells, opening milk cartons, especially when that work can go to people that don't have specialized credentials. Something we noticed this year too is there was quite an increase in that of people being assigned, school staff being assigned to duties that could be completed by other people.
Yeah, and it's not saying plebs should be doing this job, not me. It's
right.
It's strategic, it's logistic, like you said.
Yeah,
it's that time could be used planning on a very immersive lesson.
Yeah.
And again, it's so funny how it's all everybody's kind of experiencing. I feel like the same thing with gen ed teachers, gifted teachers, including teachers, music specialists, art specialists. It's like it's more important. Coverage is more important than, and saving money is more important than quality. And it's like the quality exactly damned as long as we're saving money. A school, sometimes I remember Hermitage had this, but at White Oaks we had this too. We'd get like that one day extra music teacher. And I'm thinking, well, that's great. But what if instead we hire somebody to go do lunch duty so that the music teacher could have that plan time? And do you feel like and I say administration, not necessarily as this ambiguous principle on up. Do you think that that in education they're kind of seeing as planning time as free time that they could schedule, that they're not being respectful of it?
Yep. Yep, I agree. I do think that, and especially for, teachers like me, where the I guess the mindset of many is how hard is it to press play on the iPod, on the
Yeah.
CD player, and oh, don't the kids just sing in there? And you know, it's a gigantic myth that planning time just isn't needed.
Where do you think that comes from too? Where do you think their thinking is? Is it about, oh, they think they're saving money, or do they just not understand?
I think it's a combination of saving money. I think, downtown, the elusive downtown.
Hey, we're not
Um,
allowed to call it downtown.
too
It's
bad.
central orifice. Get it
School
right, central
school
orifice.
sort. Oh yeah, okay,
It's
that.
the central orifice.
Yeah, whatever. Downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, downtown. Probably put. There's certain amount of it that I think downtown says. You have adequate staffing. There's adequate staffing in the building. Figure it out. Make it work. I think there's the increased need for coverage, help, support, etc.
hmm
And of course, they're going to turn to the people without, without homeroom classes. And I mean, and
Yeah.
to an extent, that makes sense. I think everybody knows that the K through 5 staff is just it's off the table when it comes to would these people ever be able to supervise another group of students throughout the day? That answer is absolutely not. They've got their own.
Well,
Well,
there-
except
the and now I think the new principal there kiboshed this thing, because I hear
yeah.
that didn't happen. But last year at White Oaks, and this was a pilot program,
Yeah,
which
I think
means
I
they were
heard about
testing it for other
this.
schools. The new ISS philosophy, where instead of having someone else watching ISS, they would pull a
Mm,
teacher from each grade level
yeah,
to
which is
cover
criminal.
during their planning time, to cover the ISS room, with this golden philosophy that you should be able to do proper planning time while watching kids that
Mm,
are in ISS, because those angels, they're in ISS because they need to
yeah,
cool down. They're not there because to cause any more
yeah.
issues.
I did hear about that at your school and some others, and yeah,
hmm
that was alarming. That was
Yeah.
alarming. And you know what? It goes right along with everything we're saying
hmm
about that need for the need for the planning time and the way planning time is viewed. And kind of back to your original question or statement, I guess, about where does that opinion or where does that belief come from? And I think a lot of it too is just assumptions.
hmm
It's assumptions, it's beliefs, it's comparing teachers to comparing teachers who use their planning time properly to the ones who don't.
hmm
We know that there's people that just waste their planning time, but then their instruction tends to reflect
Reflect that.
that too. They're utilizing lessons from 20 years ago or whatever, just skating by, I guess. Which if you are provided the time, I think there's a certain amount of expectation there to produce something that shows that you were productive during that time.
hmm
But on the other hand, then check on that, I guess. Check on that. Like come to my classroom and see what we're doing, and see that it's up to date, and see that it's tailored to this group of students, rather than just assuming or guessing or choosing to remain so ignorant to my subject
Yeah.
that you just whatever we call it, the blind emoji or whatever, where you
Yeah.
just one of these because you just don't want to deal with it.
Well, and that also, I think, is speaks to the fundamental issue with in poorly promoted administrators.
Absolutely.
And again, we can speak specifically about one person
Yep.
specifically, but I feel she is a symptom of the
Yeah,
real problem.
absolutely. Yep.
And I think you and I've had talked about this
Yep.
before. And I think, with the exception, like the principal at White Oaks now is tremendous. From everyone
Yeah.
I've talked to, the staff there, I felt tremendous. In fact, it was so sad because when I decided to, I had already decided to leave but I
Yeah.
wanted to try one last time.
Sure.
And it was one of those things where I didn't leave because of her. I left in spite of her because she
Yeah.
was tremendous. She was exactly the leadership that we know, the kind of
And
principal we need.
yeah.
And it still wasn't enough because of all the other stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into. But
Sure. Sure.
I feel like a lot of times now, administrators are promoted, or these administrative
Hmm.
positions are taking people that don't really sympathize with the actual teachers. A lot of times they
Sure.
have very little experience, and
Yes.
they say the right things, or they might be really good at what the administration,
Hmm.
the administration bubble, if the central
Yep.
orifice is looking for,
Yeah.
but they don't understand planning time. Like they
Right.
weren't on the other side, or they didn't quite understand that. So when presented with that, they don't understand when you
Yeah.
go to them and say, "Hey, I need this time to do this cool thing,"
Right.
or just,
Right. Right.
"I need this time to catch up." I mean, because
Right.
there's so much on our plate.
Right, it's true. And when you're dealing with a administrator who's a micromanager too, and even when you are more or less asked slash forced to, you know, provide a list of things that you're doing during your planning time, it's still picked apart, and well, you don't need this much time for that and things like that. And
Yeah.
never mind time sensitive things that come up, post pandemic now. And well, and but the way society has evolved too. I mean, we had an instance this school year where a student is, sadly the subject of a bitter custody battle
Mm-hmm.
between parents. But due to that, and due to the parents just duking it out in custody court, we were presented with, we need a list of every interaction with this child that you've had since they've been enrolled here. Like
Yeah.
if you sent this child to the nurse.
You saw him in the
Oh,
hallway or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. We need to know, because this is getting ugly between their parents. So if my grades were due that day, if I had other things, forget it. This is
Yeah.
this is the priority now, and no, you can't skip lunch duty to take care of this, despite it being, a subpoena. It's out of the school's hands, but it's important, it's urgent, it's time sensitive. We need it now, but we also need you to go to lunch duty. But don't worry about your plans,
Yeah.
though.
Don't worry about your plans.
Yeah, yeah.
There seems to be, would you agree that there seems to be a misconception of what we do as teachers, whether it's music specialists, gen
Yes,
ed, what have
for
you? Like,
sure.
yeah, like there's on paper, wow,
Mhm.
you have this plan, you're teaching music from this time, or in
Right.
my case, you're teaching math in this block, you're
Mhm.
teaching language arts. And then reality is Sally gets a bloody nose, and and Billy drops the cymbals, and it causes, yeah, Anthony to stem,
Yep.
and you have to, there's
Oh, sure.
that doesn't seem to compute. And do you find it more difficult? And this is kind of an easy question, but do you find it more difficult to take an administrator seriously when, one, they don't understand what you
Mhm.
do, and two, their advice, it just is
Yes.
so void of experience
Yes.
that
Yeah.
it's,
Well put, Mr.
how
Borden.
hard is that to just not scream?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I mean, that statement, that sentiment it's all spot on, and especially when you have such a long history with an administrator who has, as unpredictable as they can be. Certain behavioral patterns are very predictable, and it's just not worth sacrificing your own mental health to
Hmm.
even try and reason with the person who evaluates you. That's the bottom line. Is, if they want to spout off um just nonsense stuff that makes no sense, there's no point in arguing, because ultimately they evaluate you, and they can, bump you down to needs improvement just because you've, spoke up.
Yeah, exactly. Which
Yeah.
kind of goes to that whole, the purpose of me even wanting to do this podcast
Sure.
is I feel like we need a voice, and because I feel like there's a lot of nearly everyone I speak to feels exactly the same way. They're in
Yeah.
similar situations, and my friends at White Oaks, even though their direct administrator is really cool to them and really
Yeah.
supportive, there's things that are above her head
Sure.
that she can't control.
Yep.
And there's tons of things that happen that frustrate just education in general.
Yeah.
And then everybody wonders why there's a teacher shortage.
Yes. Yeah.
Why is
but
there
do
a
they?
teacher
Are they
shortage?
even wondering anymore?
Yeah.
Or
Well,
they
say
it's that old blind emoji again.
Yeah. Whether or not this teacher shortage was manufactured
Mhm.
is something for debate. But it just seems like what is your take on that? Why is it so hard to get teachers? And I have a second follow-up question: is why are a lot of teachers afraid to speak up?
Well, let's see. So starting with, what was the first one?
Well, the first, why is there a teacher shortage?
Why is that? Okay.
Why is it so hard to get teachers?
Okay. Why is it so hard to get teachers? Well, man, where to even start with that one? And I just finished my 19th year. I'm yes.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
And for
thank
that,
you very much.
Jill, you just earned yourself a jeans pass.
Oh gosh, thank you.
Think congratulations. You win the jeans pass jackpot. You can wear jeans all summer long.
Thank you. Even at home.
Even at home, exactly.
Yes. So anyway, and I think the issues now are not what they were 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I think, people talk about getting new teachers. I think one of the hot topics this year was, no, keep the ones you have. Yes, bring in the new ones. But my God, do you realize you're losing the ones that you have? But districts don't care. Districts don't care about that because new teachers are cheaper. I'm carrying a hefty price tag with my 19 years of experience now. And the fact that, I've taught every child in the building for as long as they've been enrolled in the school, all that experience as a musician, as a teacher, going through the pandemic, going through, having taught at low income schools, and just all that experience. They don't care anymore, if they ever really did, if they really did, but they're not, like, school divisions aren't willing to continue making that investment in the veteran teachers. They see us as a high price tag, whereas, the new people coming in, they're targeting the new people because they're cheaper, they're cheaper and they have no basis for comparison. So
easier to gaslight.
Exactly. Yep. Easier to gaslight, easier to say, oh, well, we've always done it this way. Of course, a class of 32 kids. Yeah, of course, that's normal, Of course, no planning time. No, you don't get planning time. Who told you that? Yeah, no. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a kindergarten teacher. Yeah, you're supposed to be changing diapers.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. And chasing children, off of the school property.
Well, and it's interesting what you said. And I had a thought that, like, it really is a testament to not understanding the value of an experienced teacher.
Exactly.
Because you think about it, like, if they're just looking at every teacher as the same, regardless of their years of experience, and they're seeing a teacher that's making this much versus a teacher making this much, they're going to prefer the less expensive teacher to look good and save money and blah, 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 rather than understanding the value of that experienced teacher.
And that right there, that's a huge issue across the board, I think. And then you consider areas, more rural areas. I went to college in Vermont where not a whole lot of people, a lot of cows, not a lot of people.
A lot of maple syrup,
a lot of maple, yes, but Ben and Jerry's, but that's about it. But in talking with my friends from college who have stayed up there, I mean, we think that we're in dire straits around here in this populated area in Virginia Beach, quite populated, up there where it's so rural. I mean, they are, it's a huge struggle up there. So they're being forced to kind of work with what you have, kind
Yeah.
of preserve what you have. Like I think the warning lights are going off a lot more that, you better do whatever you need to do to hang on to your veterans, because there isn't anybody else.
Yeah. There is nobody
There
pounding on
isn't
the door.
anyone. Right.
And that, it blows my mind that the way that a lot of, I could kind of understand outside of education, like some parents that aren't familiar with what teachers do because they're not in the building. They've not been a teacher.
Right.
Some will say they've been a teacher and then somehow don't understand what we do. But like for administrators who you would expect to have that experience and sympathy, suddenly forget that and don't understand that the value of a Phyllis McCann or a Linda Zare or
yes. Oh, I love them.
And one of the things that really, like this, you remember, I was on the first PBIS team from back, I think it was 2016, maybe.
Oh man,
I was
probably.
in that. I had to do. I remember the first thing we had to do was a week after the last day of school, we had to report to the ATC for PBIS training, and they didn't. I was with Dee Dee Abernathy was in my group, and talk about put the right person in that thing. They loved her, between her and I forget who else was with us.
Man, Freeman, you're throwing it way back. Yeah, you're reaching.
Freeman
way
was
back.
there too, but we Dee Dee and I we had a way of like really pointing out the flaws in their pitch. Again, that's one of those things where here's Dee Dee's veteran teacher.
Yep.
Here I am. I've got at least 8 years under my belt at this time, and we're just poking apart. But one thing stuck out to me is there was during a break, I went to the bathroom, and as I'm coming back, we all had different tables for our different schools, and then there was one table in the back that was for the admin folks. The folks you see with the very clean avatars in their ime and those lobotomized smiles. Like the scientists told us this, those folks. And I'm walking by, and they must not have known I was there, but I heard them talking about one of the guys said, good luck getting a veteran teacher, good luck getting one of those veteran teachers to believe that. And the other person said, yeah, they should just retire. And it was one of those things where like it stuck with me and it kept sticking in my head. And I kept thinking, is that the narrative downtown at the Central Orifice? Is there that much disdain for veteran teachers down there? Is that the stigma? Is that the narrative? And it goes back to one of our mutual friends who went downtown to HR to complain about the issues you and I have talked about. And the response was, oh, look, you can retire next year.
Yeah.
So that drives me nuts right there. That's
same. That goes to the that goes to the second part of your question too, is why don't people speak up? Well, I think more people speak up than society realizes. I think that speaking up, people are afraid. People are afraid. People are afraid to speak up. I think some veterans, myself included, some veterans have kind of gotten past that. It's like, well, forget it. Forget it.
Right.
I'm not afraid. So, if I'm no longer afraid, then I am going to speak up. And some of us who have spoken up just haven't gotten anywhere, sadly. I will, it's not a secret. I've contacted the school board on numerous issues that I feel are urgent. And even though some of the responses that I've gotten back have actually been thoughtful and helpful from certain members of the school board, certain members.
Certain members.
Yes, because if you
don't do magic tricks.
Right. So if you contact the school board, for anybody that doesn't know, when you contact the school board, you're asked to use an email address that goes to all of them.
Yeah.
All members of the school board, and then so they all receive it, and then I guess that it's kind of a grab bag as to who responds.
Is it like not it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
They all go like not it.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, so that's how it works. But I have gotten, good responses back from some. Um, I think a lot of people are under the belief that it's the school board that runs this, it's the school board that fixes this, the school board's the one that, they're over the superintendent too. If you have an issue, contact the school board. Well, I've realized, especially during COVID, during the pandemic, it's not that's it's not always the school board can fix this.
Yeah.
That the school board, although they are not, they don't oversee things the way that the school division administrators do.
Hmm.
Despite getting some helpful responses back from school board members who, proved to me, hey, I've redacted your name, and I agree with you. This is an issue. I've redacted your name and sent it on to the official that is in charge of things like this. But then they would send the response back to me, and it was more nonsense.
Like, wah, wah. Like, this
Pretty
is what they
much.
said. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Or, I did write once about, an issue, and I didn't go into detail, but I got a helpful response back from a school board member who said, I agree with you.
Hmm.
Can you provide examples? And meanwhile, while I was compiling all that, because this takes time, this
Yeah.
takes so much time. And honestly, that's another reason why people don't bother, is because all the time it takes, and you've got to be real careful that you're submitting correct information and it's not hearsay and it's not rumors. But, so while I'm compiling it, this school board member would then at least make contact with, an administrator and say, gee, this came up from a teacher and it alarmed me. And is this correct? Or is this, an abuse of power at the building level?
Yeah.
And then, while I'm compiling my examples, that administrator might respond and say, well, we can't fix things that we don't know about. That old
Chestnut. Yeah.
yeah, let me pull this out of
Yeah.
my pocket. We can't fix things we don't know about. So I'm
Well,
like,
you don't know about it because you're an ineffective administrator.
well,
And you
yeah,
should know about it.
yeah, you
And you
should
won't
know
listen
about
to
it.
your
But
people.
but since you said that, here you go. Here's a list of specific examples that speak to this overall issue that I am complaining about, but I'm complaining about it on behalf of my colleagues.
Yeah.
Here's some specific examples. Now what? And then the communication just tends to stop.
Why don't you just go directly to the superintendent? Because he could definitely take care of things. How would it go if you asked the superintendent for help?
Well, and I have a colleague who was successful in that. I've heard. I've never done that. I've never done that.
Mhm.
But I did have a colleague that was being abused, and I'll say abused by an administrator. It's a music colleague. This was years ago.
Mhm.
Not even sure if he's still with the division, but we do have a cap for our weekly classes. How many classes per week that
Yeah.
we are to teach? I believe it's 30 is the maximum. Which that's a heavy course load in itself. That's
Mhm.
6 classes a day, 5 days a week. And then back to what we were talking about earlier about, it being the building administrators being allowed to fill any non-class time with whatever. So
Yeah.
this colleague of mine was he was up over 30 classes per week. I think he was at like 32 or something.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, and which I asked him at the time, I'm like, even like how is that fitting? Like even if he had no duty, how are 32 classes a week fitting? And it was crazy. It was things like they had taken out transition times. So, one class might end at 10:30 and then the next one starts at 10:30, but it would be like that all day.
Yeah.
There were like they had this crazy rotating you know, okay, well you're supposed to get 40 minutes, but because we don't have 40 minutes, this week you get 35 and so forth. And so I mean
Wow.
it was insane. And so that teacher had been contacting the principal first, saying, this is ridiculous and it's out of compliance with my contract, all this stuff. No real response from the principal, as you can imagine. And if he pushed, it was things like, well, it's blaming downtown. And so then this teacher contacted whoever downtown, the director of elementary schools or whatever. All this to say that they went back and forth, because they also waited until, the October shuffle where, he was like, he thought, sure, that they'll, if I can survive it till then, surely they will put another allocation.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, the October shuffle,
go ahead.
That's every year that happens, where that's when they admit the issues, the staffing issues.
And, the staffing issues.
Yes. I do want to talk. I want to continue your story there, but I do want to talk about allocations and how they're, because I always imagine, like, are allocations, how do they decide allocations, or is it just like in that South Park episode where just a bunch of manatees draw numbers out of like a little thing and put them in, like, okay, Hermitage gets six third grader teachers and 1.5 music teachers, and
right. Which we should definitely come back to that, because again, as somebody who teaches the entire school,
yes,
I've got things to say about allocations. But so back to this colleague,
yes,
like I said, a music colleague, so at a different school, the October shuffle did not produce any additional music teacher allocation. So he was so exhausted, fed up, as you can imagine, that he was, ready to resign, just because it was, that was the epitome of unsustainable. I've had some terrible schedules, but I saw his that year, and it was, it just outrageous. It looked like a joke. So this teacher, he contacted the superintendent directly and copied his, sent a copy of his schedule and said, if this is how it's supposed to be, then I will make my own decisions about how I'm going to handle this. But if this is not how it's supposed to be, please fix it. And he got an email back from somebody else, not the superintendent, but got an email back saying, you will have a 1-day music teacher starting next Thursday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would have expected Spencer's response to be something like this.
Deal with
it. Thanks for that.
Just deal with it.
Well, that is often the response. I know that was the response that I got when I had a terrible schedule one year, and it was not as terrible as this person's, but it was still pretty terrible. That was the response that I got. So thank you for.
Well, it's funny too. Like, you talk about scheduling. Scheduling is so stupid,
right?
And it's so silly, because again, which is one of the fundamental problems with education is they focus on quantity instead of quality.
Sure.
And we're given every beginning of every year, teachers are given a schedule, and it's different from site to site, even though they like to tell you this is how it's done everywhere.
Right.
It's not necessarily true. And what starts to happen is, of course, is for example, like the music specialist, art specialists, all the specialists will get together, and first they'll say, okay, here's where your music times are.
Right.
And then the teacher, now it's traditionally, then the teachers take that, and we have a certain number, like each grade level has a certain number of language arts minutes, certain number of math minutes that we need to get. But what sometimes happens, because of logistics, and because also we get lunch times and everything, the powers that be that decide lunch times and decide all these things, they start planning this stuff out. They think that for one, they imagine that taking an entire class of 28 students from the music room to the classroom, or from the classroom to the lunchroom, takes 10 seconds, because they'll schedule, like they'll say, all right, Mr. Burton, your music time ends at 10:55, and your lunchtime is 11 o'clock. Well, Okay, so that means that I have to take the kids from music room. They've either got, if they didn't already bring their lunch with them,
Yep.
we've got to go back and get their lunch, which of course we got to take them to the lunchroom, and it's just asinine. And then there's even more so when I'm making that schedule, that 10:55 to 11 o'clock gap, they expect you to fill it with language arts time minutes.
Yes.
And like I'm
yes,
just
it's
like,
true.
how I'm like, I just, that's comedy. I'm not gonna sit there down the hallway and do word study with the kids. All right, CAT spells cat. What's for lunch today? Tuna fish. All right, TUNA. How do you spell asinine? Well, that's what
and see, we're laughing about it, but
it's gallows humor.
I was gonna say, people. Well,
well, no, you're right. I did see colleagues that you and I both know walking down the hall with cards and with words, and I'm like, let me talk to you.
Yes, let me talk to you.
That's adorable, but
yeah. But on the same page, that year that I had that horrendous schedule with really no usable planning time, I was told that no, in fact, I have plenty of planning time because I have 5 minutes between classes. So if you add all that up, there's an hour. Boy, most people aren't that lucky.
Well, and I gotta speak both on behalf of regular of classroom teachers, but also on your behalf, that it creates issues that shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
For example, putting myself as a general education teacher, when I'm got to take my kids to music, it's usually we have to finish, we have to stop whatever we're doing. And it might be in the middle of a lesson, or it might be in the middle of a small group rotation, or it might be in something, and we have to consider that. But we can't just leave at that time and magically appear at your door. Flip side is, with your schedule being crazy, if you're lucky enough to have that 5 minutes where the between classes, you are dependent not only on me arriving on time, but also the previous teacher arriving on time to pick them up. And if either of us are late, regardless of reason, it could be us kicking back, smoking and joking, or it could be putting out a fire. It could be like 10 million things that happen and on a daily basis that we have no control over. So, and it causes friction. And I understand, I would understand your frustration. I understand the teacher's frustration. And what it does is it pits us against each other. Rather than realizing that the problem is not you or I. The problem is this schedule is stupid.
Right. And then you're bringing in, if I'm watching your students because they haven't been picked up yet. And then the next class shows up, then you're adding even more turmoil to a situation because I'm thinking, well, great, my room's a mess. I didn't get to reset it for this incoming class. It's probably a different grade level doing a totally different lesson. The incoming teacher, the incoming
you might have a first grade class, and then it's going to be a fifth grade, or the fourth grade class is coming in with their recorders. But the first grade class, they were doing finger painting notes on a music sheet or something.
Well, but exactly. Or, and so there's that to consider. Then there's the incoming teacher, pacing around. Well, I have a meeting, or I have, all this stuff to do that's going to take longer than the 40 minutes that I get it for. And then it's, everybody's hands, in the air is, well, what do we do? What do we do? And what do you do?
And I've had moments where I've arrived either at art or music, and the art or music instructor is not there. I don't mind. I get it, because what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll tap dance for the kids, or I'll try to get a vague idea of what they're doing and ask them, kind of quiz them on it, or just, and I do that. It's a choice, because I shouldn't have to make that choice, because the schedule should be designed so that, but I know that music or art teacher, they're not in the classroom because they don't care. They're either handling something, or probably this is the only time in their day that they can go to the bathroom, and so their choice, instead of peeing their pants, they're going to be a little bit late. So, but it goes back to creating those issues.
Right. and the schedule is something that, administrators often don't want to talk about at all,
Mhm.
because, I mean, yes, as somebody who sees the entire school, I have no idea where my classes are coming to me from, or where they're going after they leave
Yeah.
me, unless I'm explicitly told. I have no idea, and I don't keep track. And then, so there have been teachers in the past that say, gee, um, I know that you want the kids to bring their Chromebooks to music, which is great because that's where all my activities are housed, and
Yes.
that's a whole other conversation.
That is,
But
yeah.
yes, yeah, but they'll say, kids need to bring their Chromebooks to music. Well, we go to lunch right after music. Can you help us with this? Of course I can, because you bring the Chromebook to music helps me. But if I wouldn't know if you didn't say anything. So then
Mhm.
there's the teachers that, oh, well, this is so annoying, blah blah blah, I got to bring them to music, and then what am I supposed to do with them? It's like, well, if you would just ask me, they can leave them there, or I'll walk them back to your room so they can put them away, in enough time to then go to lunch or PE or wherever it is that they need to go. Let's work together on that, rather than.
Why is that so hard though? Like, why do you feel like, why is it so hard for, and it could be speak to the state of mind that we're perpetually put in.
Yeah,
But
I think that's it. I think that's it.
you
And
think that's
people
it?
don't, yeah, and people don't want to be seen as complaining. Um, and then there's a fine line between complaining about something, or working to resolve an issue. And I think
Mhm.
that when you have an administrator who, um, doesn't want, doesn't intend to touch the schedule. Again, those veteran teachers who know that the administrator is not willing to touch the schedule,
Mhm.
they figure, why bother? Um,
Yeah.
that's our, the new one of the newest trends is, yeah, it's, in August, work week. First of all, taking forever to release the schedule, and then, when the schedule is released, it's released with this,
Yeah.
final copy. This will not be changed. And then I look at it and see I've got, you
It's
know
completely changed.
well, but I see mistakes on it that have to be fixed.
Yeah.
One teacher's scheduled for music twice, and another one doesn't have it at all. But I don't know which one is correct. And honestly,
Or
classroom
overlapping.
teacher, yeah, or yeah,
Yeah.
oh yes, overlapping. Oh my God, yes, that. So then you want to, you're on eggshells, saying, hey, I know you said this was the final copy. However, Mr. Burden's got music twice, on different days at different times. He doesn't know which one is correct. I don't know which one is correct. And by the way, this teacher isn't scheduled for music at all. So
Yeah. And I've seen that happen even at
yeah,
the best, with the best supports where
right,
like like we had a 1 day week music teacher,
yeah,
and the logistics. In fact, it was weird. It was cool because I was actually in a committee that we met over the summer to try to help with the schedule,
yeah,
which is something we advocated for, because in the past it was like, here's your schedule, deal
yeah,
with it. Yeah.
yeah.
And we had to deal with it. But the the thing that was interesting was that we had teachers that were scheduled for both the regular music specialist and the one a
Oh,
day, and then we had someone that wasn't, and it was like it was real. It was one of these things we had to really decipher. So the schedule is something that needs to really be looked at, but also I feel a good leader would be flexible as well and understanding. It's kind of
yes.
like, I think what really defines a good leader, or let me ask that as a question to you. What defines a good administrative leader in your building to you?
Well, definitely,
Someone
definitely.
not on the spectrum, right? I mean, that we
Right,
start with
right,
that.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, or at least, got it managed, if you
yeah.
are,
Okay, it's
like.
managing their neurodivergence. Yeah,
Right, yes,
yeah,
exactly. Yes, somebody
exactly.
who's able to do that, and yeah.
Yeah.
But going right along with what you were, with your topic, a good administrator is somebody who, knows what it's like, and understands where the staff is coming from. Somebody
Hmm.
that, God forbid, has experience in the field, um, and is truly able to lead the school because they know what needs to be done, not
Hmm.
because they just want to boss around adults, or you know, showcase flex power and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, if you're dealing with scheduling conflicts, we you know, rather than yelling at the staff and saying, well, you have no idea what goes into this. No, I do. So let your able-bodied, professional, qualified staff help with this,
Mm-hmm.
rather than you just barking at us saying, you know, that's it's staying the way it is, when no, it can't stay the way it is, because there's, you know, glaringly obvious errors in it that absolutely need to be fixed. You know, but whatever, you're just going to stand there and yell at me and say we're not changing it, because you won't listen to the problem that we're telling you about it. You think I want to change it because, you know, I want to see Mr. Burden's class on Thursday instead of Wednesday. No, you've got Mr. Burden's class scheduled for Thursday and Wednesday. That's the
Yeah.
point. Like, please listen to me, you know. Just, I don't care how you fix it,
La, la,
too.
la, la, la,
Well,
la,
that's
la.
it. But that's it. But that's
Yeah.
it. And, you know, and so many administrators are quick to, you know, they're quick to give themselves a gold star when they finish the schedule. Uh, you know, and then all we see it as, well, you know, there's these glaringly obvious mistakes, but I know that they're not even gonna listen to me. They're only gonna see it as me complaining, and refuse to let me finish a sentence and say, no, you've got an actual problem. Um, that's how we've ended up with students that attend ODS for those specialty programs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know,
Like
yeah,
dance
you know,
or yeah.
exactly, dance and art, and whatever else they do. It's like we've got students that those classrooms attend music or art on the day that those, which, you know what I'm talking about,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
And for
yeah,
those that don't, it's where you
right,
might have a gifted, like a student identified gifted for dance. So they'll, like, every Wednesday they'll go to ODS for dance,
right,
gifted instruction. But if you also have art or music that day, they miss their art or music. And so
yes,
unless you can work something out where they go to art or music on another day, which actually now then takes away from your deal, you you have to you have to manage that, and to
exactly,
not listen to your staff when they bring that up
exactly.
is asinine.
And that is a very, very specific and unique issue. It's probably a unique issue to uh, Virginia Beach. I don't even know how many, you know, how many other listeners and how many other
Yeah.
districts have situations like that, where, you know, students are regularly absent from their general classroom. But that has, you know, that's been an issue that has fallen into the category of, you know, if they're not going to listen to me about the big issues, I'm not even going to bring it up, you know. And then
Yeah.
how sad is that, for the student that, yeah, misses art or music every week, but, you know, but when you have brought it up again, you're yelled at, or on the flip side, they upend the entire schedule to try
And
and
it
accommodate one student, and then new issues are created. You
yeah.
know, it's like we've got, you know, and building the schedule is not for the faint of heart, but, you know, give the teachers some credit too, and all teachers, not just the specialists that are, you know, living that schedule, living that, you know, every class in the school weekly schedule. But, you know, the classroom teachers too. It's like they know what they're doing. They know what their day looks like. You know, that scenario is a true example. What we were just talking about with students from ODS, and, you know, one year the administrator did upend the entire schedule, and created way more mistakes and issues, again, that had to be corrected, not just inconveniences. And, you
Hmm.
know, here she is
But major
thinking
issue. Yeah.
major issues, you know, scheduling, you know, it's whatever, kindergarten, I don't, you know, God bless the kindergarten teachers.
Right.
I could never teach kindergarten all day every day, but I do know that kindergarten music and art time are specifically scheduled oftentimes for the purpose of the kindergarten teacher being able to meet with, um you know, staff that are only in the building part-time.
Yeah.
um
And
so
some current kindergarten teachers do half day kindergarten. So they'll
right,
have
right,
like
right,
that half day, they'll have two different groups of kindergartners, one in the
yep,
morning with the app.
yeah,
And if you schedule their art time right when they're supposed to be going home,
yep,
yeah.
yeah, all yeah, so there's all of that. But that year that an administrator upended the entire schedule to accommodate one student that was going to ODS, one of the end results to the newest final schedule was that, kindergarten classes got moved. And these kindergarten teachers came back saying, well, wait a second. We had music on Tuesday because I have to meet with so-and-so that's only in the building on Tuesdays. So don't make this my problem. Give me my music time back. It's not, that's it. Yeah. And now what? Now what?
And this is again goes back to what a lot of folks don't understand about the first 6 weeks of school.
Oh my God. Yes.
I mean, forget about, because
forget about it. Yeah.
Pre-planning the like teacher work week right before the start of school. Yeah, we're setting up everything, but as soon as the kids enter the building, that's when we notice more issues, and then we spend the next 6 weeks trying to figure them out. And right when we finally get everything kind of copacetic and we've kind of got a working system, two things happen. Again, we talked about the October shuffle. So then that moves everything around. Shuffle. And that's when, and then, IEP minutes. We've got to, the special ed's got to consider when they can be here and there and the other thing. Yep. And then our good friend Pals comes in to knock on the door and say, hey, I can only pull these kids at certain days. And so before you know it, it's like October is now the shuffle month and by the time we finally get everything worked out and in your class, same thing in the classroom, Thanksgiving.
Right.
And then winter break. And it's like, all right, well, that's been nice. Exactly. It's been nice.
Right.
And we do a thing in Virginia Beach schools, and different buildings do it differently. But I know you're aware of it because you're very familiar with this. The pink and blue cards, which I don't know if we can even have pink and blue cards nowadays. Who knows? But we still have them.
Yes.
And it's what it is at the end of the year, we write that, we put all the information, all the academic and biological information on these either pink or blue info cards for each student in our classroom. And then we have this grand meeting where we place them in the next year's class.
Yes.
Now, different administrators have different thoughts and views on how much input the teachers have. Now, I feel like effective administrators, they want to know, okay, for example, you want to keep certain students separated. Yep. Maybe you want certain students together.
Yep.
Maybe you want this student in with them. You also think considering academics. The thought process used to be staff up the inclusion classes to make the grades, the scores look better. But and then staff down the gifted. But I think it's the other way around. The gifted classes should have the most students because you have students that you can tend to give autonomous work to, whereas inclusion, you want that to be lower so you can really laser focus. But regardless, we have we're sorting them out and we're putting them all that, and nothing's more frustrating to spend a good hour of your planning time doing or an hour of whatever you're doing, and then all of a sudden you find out when you come back to school in the fall, all of that was changed.
Yeah.
All that was just changed. Funny moment. Our friend, it was present to help with this was right before, my last year before heading out. And the assistant principal had worked really hard. And what a lot of people, I don't know if it's different in other districts, but in Virginia Beach, typically the assistant principal runs a lot of the IEP meetings and the IEP stuff. And that's a typical thing. So she's sorting kids by IEP minutes. She's got this almost like Charlie Day in Always Sunny with the line, the red. I mean, she might as well have the red lines. She had everything sorted, and it was perfect. So she had, this kid needs to be in this room with these minutes. She turns her back to get a sip of water. She turns back, and our principal had reshuffled all of the cards and sorted them alphabetically.
I remember this.
And
I remember, yes.
We're all still wearing masks at the time, but I could see this particular assistant principal's eyes. And
I remember that.
If she didn't leave, she left the room right then. But if she didn't leave the room, I think there would have been a physical altercation.
Probably would have set the mask on fire.
But the administrator was like, I'm helping.
Yeah.
And she goes, what did you do?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm helping. But that, to me, that illustrates back to this fundamental problem of, and excuse me for earlier when I made the comment about shouldn't be autistic. That
Sure.
there are people with autism that navigate it. They're neurodivergent. They do a great job. And
Absolutely.
there are folks with diagnosed with autism that would be great leaders
Right.
because
Yes.
and a lot of times it's that laser focus they have.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes when you combine that with a bit of narcissism and antisocial behavior,
Yes.
you
Yep.
create that's somebody that should not be in that leadership role. And we've even had
Give yourself a jeans coupon, Mr. Bird.
yeah, jeans coupon.
Yeah,
Hey,
hey!
we need a jeans pass for that. But then when we say that when you send a retired principal who comes back for the sole purpose of mentoring a third-year principal, which we found out was not necessarily to help us. It was actually to keep them from getting into some legal issues.
Yeah.
And then, but if we bring that kind of issue to the upper administration, we get
deal with it.
But I mean, nothing. Why do you think the administration doesn't really care what kind of principles they
Right?
And what are your thoughts on that?
Oh man, yes, you know, I'm distracted by AA.
Of the deal.
Yeah.
Well, we could kind of go to like, do you think that the problem might be how really a lot of times it comes back to money.
Yeah.
Is the problem that the focus of the education system has become profit oriented, or at least you're rewarded for reducing costs rather than student growth? You see what I'm saying? From a standpoint of instead of trying to hire more staff, you're using specialists to cover classrooms. You don't have to hire a sub, and so it makes you look good. Or less referrals makes you look good, even if the behaviors don't change or get worse.
Right.
What do you think is the issue that causes the administration to? Do you feel like why does it seem like their focus is not on the well-being of the true well-being of the students and the staff?
Yeah, I think it's I think there's a lot of reasons there. I think speaking about the experiences that you and I share are different from other schools too.
Mm-hmm.
I've taught in some difficult buildings as so in those buildings, as whatever my opinion of those administrators might have been, there were some true issues that I understood kept their hands tied.
Yeah.
But then when you get to a well-running school, a school that's okay, that's well functioning, that does not have the profound unavoidable challenges. I'm with you on just the confusion that surrounds it, because is this like, unfortunately, when we have the students that are overaged and we just need to pass them along, some of these administrators, is it just their turn, so we need to pass them into that promotion that they've been waiting for, or are they bothering somebody else in the department that they're working in, so the solution is to just make them a principal or whatever? Then I mean
it goes away.
Yeah, to get them out.
Lateral moves are not promotion.
Yeah.
But and we can speak to personally. She had her flaws, but the previous administrator before the one we had in common, for any of her flaws, she had built a community. Right. I mean, it was a well-run school, and what was frustrating was we were a blue ribbon school. We won the blue ribbon award, and then this new administrator that comes in after her tries to tell us how important the blue ribbon is, and we need to get it. And we're like, yeah, we know.
We have it.
You see behind you the blue ribbon award on the wall. And yet it's acting like we were never a blue ribbon school.
And what you just said is so common. And I think that behavior is what makes the staff facepalm more than anything else. You know, here, quick story since you brought that up. You know, in 2020, when we knew that the school year was going to begin virtually, and the school division threw all these virtual trainings at us, you know, seesaw and Schoology, and, you know, become a level 1 seesaw person, and whatever all that was. And you know what I'm talking about, even though
exactly, yeah.
I was gonna say, because I don't think your grade level used. Did your grade level use?
No,
seesaw?
we used Dojo, but
Dojo, okay,
became
so same,
mandatory last year. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So same
But same thing, yeah.
concept. Same concept.
I mean,
So
you might as well also talk about how we went from Google Classroom to Schoology to Canvas during a pandemic,
Google Classroom,
all at the same time.
Yeah.
And again, this is where it feeds my whole thing about they didn't renew the Schoology contract because they could save money with Canvas. And to me, I'm like, well, okay, but think of forget about the teachers that are technophobic or very new technology. Even, I mean, you know me, Mentor Robotics Club. I'm probably the unofficial IT on the grade level when I was there. I mean, if Karen Garrison couldn't get to it, people came to me. You know, usually Karen Garrison's putting out 20 million technical.
Right. Yes.
She's doing like this, and then of course pulled for lunch duty.
But, yes, I had lunch duty with her this year.
She's salt of the earth, but shout out to Karen Garrison. She's awesome. And she's very sympathetic to our issues. But like that whole concept of just having to relearn, not just you're having to relearn an entire delivery system,
right?
And then teach the kids on something that you just learned. You're building the airplane in the air.
Yep. Always. But look, hear me out with this seesaw thing, because back to the blue ribbon story. This is an updated blue ribbon story. So good. 2020, you know, everybody's having to, you know, whatever, reach the level 1 certification on all these new digital programs and everything. So, you know, we did whatever. And like you know, I'm a technology person too. You know, real good with technology, comfortable with technology, whatever. So it was easy for me to check those boxes whether I was going to use the program or not. That was 20. So that was 20. You know, I'm the kind of person that puts you know, I set up my Canvas classroom by putting the link to my Google Classroom in it and leaving it.
And that's also a testament, because you know you're one of the aces when it comes to the annual training. You know,
oh my god,
I love your TikTok videos of you know first year teacher doing the training.
Taking all the
bend at the knees. Okay, and then there's veteran teacher.
See ya, going to fold my laundry. But anyway, I've got to tell you this. Okay, no, this is great. The
blue ribbon story.
The blue ribbon. So whatever. So 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, whatever, we did all that. And I got my little badge or whatever email saying, "Oh, congrats, you're a Seesaw ambassador," or something like that. Which I'm like, whoopee, So whatever. So I don't know. A few months ago, or maybe like around December, January, all of a sudden we get an email from the ITS at school, you know, a school-wide email all about how, you know, the following teachers are Seesaw ambassadors. If you would like to, if you are not a Seesaw ambassador and you would like to become one, you know, please let me know. And so this list of Seesaw ambassadors, which Mr. Burden, the Seesaw ambassadors were all the teachers that worked at the school in fall of 2020 when we were required to become Seesaw ambassadors as part of our virtual, you know, startup to the school year. So like, whatever, you know, again, I don't care. I haven't touched Seesaw since I became a Seesaw ambassador. And again, it was a requirement, and I was following the directions back then. Well, then, so, you know, like I said, the list of teachers and every name on that list was at the school in fall 2020. And I knew, so that's why they got it. That's why they got the Seesaw ambassador. They had to. So then like later on that day, we get an email from the principal congratulating everybody on that list for becoming a Seesaw ambassador and telling us that there's a jeans coupon in our mailboxes.
Yes.
The jeans, yep. For becoming Seesaw ambassadors, she's so proud of us for taking the initiative to learn something new and become
amazing.
Amazing. An amazing Seesaw ambassador. And I'm sitting there like, what? Like you were here in 2022. Like what?
We were required to do it.
We were required to do this in 2020, and you were here. You were here when they required that, and all the names on this list are.
Question.
Yeah.
Is it possible that the requirement may have been a site requirement, not a?
Oh no, it was district. That was district wide, which I only know because of my music teacher colleagues, and honestly, and in 2020, it made sense.
Yeah,
but how in 2022 you have apparently forgotten that this was a requirement. So these teachers, didn't all just get together one day and say, "Hey, you guys, let's all get together and become Seesaw ambassadors for fun."
Exactly. Like, congratulations on doing what we told you had to do 2 years
ago.
Great
Yes,
job.
and that was exactly it.
I actually talked to the Chevriers.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that on your
great chat with them. Yes. What's interesting too, the comparison, because Katie she's now the principal.
Oh, okay.
Administrator but they have one school in their district.
Yeah,
it's it. Because there's such a rural kind of, like, you're going back to your Vermont or your rural thing.
I was going to say that, yeah.
And we talked about it's great conversation we had. The whole podcast is great. And it's funny, too, because we even get to, like, so, Ray, how does it feel to be married to the boss, the boss and all this? And he's like, well, yeah, it's really cool because if you know the Chevriers, they're awesome. But it's interesting point that she made, even in a 70, like, there's 70 kids in their whole building, their whole school.
What grades? What grades is that?
And they go up. I think they go up to like middle school. I think because they'll have like 8th graders fist bumping their first grade brothers.
The school I taught at in Vermont was pre-K through 12.
Oh wow!
In one building, 400 kids.
That's insane. That's 400 spread out. All of those.
There was about 30 kids per graduating class. Yeah.
But what's interesting, because we talked about the importance of a good administrator, and how they set the climate, and what's cool too, because Katie's been teaching for years, and she's beloved by her staff because she has that understanding.
Yeah. Teaching for years. Imagine that.
She comes in, she understands it's a service, and she comes in, like, when she comes in the classroom, it's not, oh crap, here comes this idiot.
Yeah.
It's great. Here she comes. She's gonna see the But Ray before he left, Ray told me a great anecdote about one of his last interactions with our mutual administrator. He was set to come in to respond to his review. Now he was still in the 3-year
the
probationary period, and so she sent him the time and date. Then she set it up so that he had to come in and talk about his review and everything, and go through the whole thing. And he was prepared. He had data. He had all this stuff ready to talk about. So prior to this, she schedules this during his lunchtime.
Yeah, of course.
And so he drops the kids off at lunch. I think I got the story right, but he drops the kids off at lunch, and then he's got his Chromebook with him. So, because he's got all his stuff on there to share with her about this. And there was an incident with one of his students, and the administrator was in the cafeteria as well. And something went down, and it was weird or whatever. And I guess there was some people had complained about Ray or something, that he wasn't taking charge of the situation, where reality is, when you drop your kids off at lunch, that's your lunch.
Off your clock.
The fact that he's in the lunch cafeteria at all is a testament to him. So he then goes in, he sits down for their meeting. She comes in, and she's like, and he's there to meet with her, and she goes, well, and she spends 10 minutes going on about how he needs to improve his thing, his handling of students and all of this stuff. And then Ray lets her talk. You know, he's just sitting there and confused, kind of doing the dog thing, like this.
Yeah.
But he's letting her talk. Like we've all done that.
Confusing. It is confusing.
And then she goes, well, you know, I'll send you an email and let you know if there's an issue, you know, another issue, we'll have another conversation. And then Ray goes, but did you want to talk about my evaluation? And she looked at him funny, and it was like she goes, and she realized what happened. He was there for his scheduled meeting to go over his evaluation, and she had forgot that. She completely forgot and was just like addressing the issue that just happened again, once without really hearing him out, without him asking him any questions.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those situations where, and this is something that I've seen with, and it's common because again, this person is a symptom, not the problem. Like she's a problem, but she's a symptom of a bigger problem.
Right.
With the big hero card scandal of Hermitage was another one that involved PTA, all that stuff. But one of the things that was interesting was how this particular administrator demonstrated a trait that I see a lot of places, where she heard a complaint from one person, and instead of going to the person that was complained about and getting to know their situation, their side, they already make up their mind.
That knee-jerk reaction. Always. Yep.
And I think that is an issue that I think it goes back to, well, why are you promoting these people?
And why are you fielding all sorts of, you know, consistent but negative consistent negative feedback about this person from people who are leaving or people who are staying and enduring it, but the feedback is negative and consistent, and you leave that person there. You know, why? Is it because the school's still functioning, so it's not going to be an issue until there aren't enough staff at the building to hold a school day? Like, is that what we're doing?
That's another thing too. I don't think administrators realize, and I'm talking again about the whole orifice.
Yeah.
They don't realize that if every teacher walked out, just called in, they'd have to shut the whole thing down.
They would.
And yet they don't treat us like that.
Yeah. No,
why do you feel we don't get the respect we deserve from everyone, from administrators? You know, because you had posted a TikTok that really resonated, where in April during the pandemic, teachers were on a pedestal. Parents were washing our feet as we would, social distancing, of course, but they're washing their feet. And then like it was like almost like that. We're back to being the villains. And why do you think teachers get, like, we could talk about pay all day long, but as far as, why do you think there's such a disrespect to the teaching profession, at least in the United States?
Well, that's, you know, that's another big question, Mr. Burden. I think,
well, I'll tell you what, let's do this let's take a break to listen to our sponsor.
Okay.
You know, because, you know, Jill, I don't know if you who manages the finances in your house, but everyone could benefit from a financial coach. And we're going to hear about Rudder Jackson Financial Coaching. All right, we're going to take a quick break from solving all of the world's problems to tell you about a good friend of mine and a service she's offering. Are you tired of feeling like your dream financial future is out of reach? Are you struggling with overwhelming debt, trying to pay off your home early, or simply wanting to give more? Well, my good friend Vanessa Rudder Jackson is here to help. An educator and military veteran, Vanessa is here to guide you through the confusion and make your dream financial future a reality. With her certified financial coaching services, she'll help you create a personalized plan that sets you up to win with money. As an educator and a mother of two, Vanessa understands the challenges of scraping by and stretching paychecks. She's been there, and She knows how to navigate the financial landscape to help you thrive. Don't let financial stress hold you back any longer. Take the first step towards financial freedom today with Rudder Jackson Financial Coaching. Reach out to Vanessa today for a free 45-minute consultation at varudder34@gmail.com or go to tinyurl.com/RJ-money-coach. That's varudder34@gmail.com or tinyurl.com/RJ-money-coach. Remember, it's never too late to take control of your finances and achieve your dreams. Start your journey to financial freedom with Rudder Jackson Financial Coaching today. All right, now let's get back to solving the world's problem with the most charming host on the interwebs. Or as some people would say, deal with it.
Deal with it. Yeah, yeah. So back to your question, Mr. Burden. I think,
Yes.
Unfortunately, like with so many other issues in the world, and politics. Not that I don't want to discuss politics, but let's admit for a second that too many political opinions are formed by people who just see somebody else doing or saying something and then they agree.
Yeah.
I think that happens a lot with teaching too. If you think about it, whether you have children of your own or not, I have two children and I did not, I don't attend school with them. You know what I mean? So as a parent, I can't say that I honestly know what's going on in either of my child's school days, which, people don't always stop and think about that what you know about a school day comes from your children or their friends, and however their summary of the day is interpreted back to their parents. Information is often changed just a little bit. But there's what you read on social media. There's rumors. All of these factors are really what what parents form their basis of an opinion on teachers and on schools, where it comes from, because the majority of these parents are not in the buildings seeing for themselves and forming their own opinions. Now, I will say too that, again, this post-pandemic world we're in, we've had some parents, and at Hermitage and at other schools as well, but there were some parents this school year who decided, gee, now that I've seen my child through virtual schooling, and now that I've learned a lot more about what goes on, I've decided that I can fix everything. I know exactly what's wrong. I know exactly what the teachers should be doing to fix. Y'all are complaining about stuff, about non-issues. I can fix this. I can do this. Anybody can be a teacher. And so these parents, but Mr. Burden, these parents, some of them, because a lot of times teachers say that, well, please, here's, sign on. We need subs.
Yeah.
Well, some parents have done it. And we did have at least one parent this year that kind of gave us a run for our money during pandemic, during virtual learning, complained an awful lot, and then complained a lot in the months following. And I don't know if she just hit her own limit or if somebody else inspired her to go work at the school and for yourself, if you can fix everything. But she finally did. And I'll tell you, after her first couple of days subbing, she definitely had her tail between her legs. And it was, oh my God, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how you do this. How long have you been doing this? Oh, 19 years. Oh, wow. I fought in the military and it was less challenging than this.
Yeah,
And
right.
just whatever it may be. It's like, well, like, not that, I mean, and we want to be on the same page as parents, we want to be on the
Yeah.
same page, but my goodness, please don't come for us and throw around all these other things that you heard. About teachers and about schools. We need your help, we need your support. Just today I saw some news article, maybe you saw it too, I think it was just today, about because ODS, back to ODS, they've released their selections or whatever it
Yeah.
may be for the students that are going to go there next year. And so they interviewed all these parents whose kids did not get in, but some of the their reactions on camera were just kind of appalling.
Yeah.
Appalling, very insulting towards their child's zone school. They're naming their zone schools and
They didn't
saying,
get in because where they were, which was trash.
well,
Or
there's
something.
that, and then
Yeah.
or there's like one parent that again was right on the video clip. She's like, well, not I don't think there's anything wrong with this, no, that not that my child's zone school has a reputation, but I just don't want them going there. You know why? And
Yeah.
just
See, and I think this is a lot of those parents, and we've seen them. And again, it's the empty cans that make the most noise. And I think that's true with teachers. It's true with parents too. The parents that make that are just the awful, just driving everybody crazy. That's usually one out of like 1,000 parents where the rest are really cool.
Right.
But
right.
you get that one parent, they're loud because they're the ones going crazy and stuff. But there are parents, and we've seen it a lot, that they're either living vicariously through their kids, or they mistake they want to give and it comes from a good place. I think a lot of times they want their kid to have these advantages, but they don't realize that not every kid's going to, you can't give that to everybody. And a lot of times, like, my feelings about ODS itself is there's a ODS benefits a type of kid, and I don't mean like a specific type, but like a mindset that really would thrive there. But our own gifted program in the main schools provide a lot of the stuff that ODS provides. But it really comes down to the badge. It's almost like being able to tell your friends at brunch that my child is at ODS.
And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
But I'll say too, my son was identified gifted back in first grade, and so he was invited to apply to ODS. But my my position as a teacher, I know a little bit more about ODS, and then I know that my son's personality, I didn't see it being a fit. But I've got friends with kids who go to ODS and they thrive, and that's great if it's a good setting for you. But I didn't see my son kind of, I didn't think it would work out. And honestly, and he was, he's well settled into the gifted services that he benefits from at his school. And so, why disturb something that's already working, so we've left that alone. But these people making judgments and making assumptions about stuff when they have no perspective, they don't know about it. All they know is what other people have said. That's where we really run into, going back to your original question about, when teachers went from, heroes to zeros.
Heroes is
heroes
video
to zero.
From hero to zero.
Hero to zero. Yeah. It's like, wait a second, but nothing changed. Oh, wait, the garbage out in the world, that changed. That was updated. So now y'all have, you've started listening to different people talk about schools. So now your own opinion has changed based on, these new things you heard. And it's all rumor. It's all hearsay. And, come on now.
What's that? There's a great cartoon, and you and I think I can't remember if I shared it to you, you shared it to me, or we both shared it to each other. But it's the one where it's got two frames. It's got School in the 80s, and it's
Oh,
got the parents and the
Yeah.
teacher, and they got the kid, and they're yelling at the kid.
Yep. What's
You're
what's
failing.
wrong?
What are you going to do about it? And then the next one is present day. They're yelling. The kid's sticking his tongue out. They're yelling at the teacher. My kid's failing. What are you going to do about it? And every
Wait a
conversation I have with educators when we talk about what teachers do,
Yeah.
they don't realize that, like they do, but like parents,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize that we're not just instructing. We are mom, we are dad, we are their nurse, we're their psychologist, their life coach.
All of
We're
it.
stand-up comedians, we're
Yep.
game show hosts, we're
Yep.
all these things
Yep.
and spinning all these wheels. And like if they might feel confident that they can do our job because they're able to manage their child.
Yes.
But try multiply that by 28.
Yes, exactly.
And in your case, groups of 28 coming through your door, all different, every one of them different.
Exactly. And half that, and again, it's not better or worse, just different.
Yeah.
To where, yes, look at my position. I'll have a kid enter the room in tears. I have no idea why. It's like, are they crying about a non-issue? Are they just burst into tears for no reason? Is it something that just happened? Is it something ongoing? Is it something at home? Is it, and then half the time, if I do ask the teacher, going back to our conversation about scheduling, if I ask the teacher, that half the time the teacher doesn't know either. It's like, oh, gee, I don't know. I just dropped him right off from lunch. I didn't know there was an issue. And then, so do I want to, am I a mean teacher or not caring enough if I, just, don't direct my attention towards that student and instead direct my attention towards the, towards the rest of the class and our lesson, or if I, give my attention to the crying student, again, knowing nothing about why they're upset, am I setting myself up for, well, something happened a month ago and I just remembered it and I'm upset about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're only going to be with me for 40 minutes. I don't want to ignore you if this is an issue, but you got to decide right now, you're going to address this or not. And if you start to address it and realize it's a non-issue, how are you going to kindly, move away from it? And, oh my gosh.
Teaching, and that goes back to how teaching is an art.
It really
you have to know when to pivot. You have to know those real time, like, when one kid is throwing a Chromebook across the room and then there's another, another kid comes back from PE, puts their head down and is just sobbing. And yet you're expected to start your lesson right then and engage them and get all this stuff. And again, we're also having to engage students in some material that, let's be honest, Jamestown's a difficult subject to really get kids hyped about. So when you're competing against TikTok and Among Us and anime and manga and all this stuff and Pokemon, to try to, the best I could do with Jamestown is I did this in my slideshow presentation. I put I escaped from Jamestown, or I survived Jamestown. And I took an old photo of them carrying a dead body out of Jamestown. But then I photoshopped one of those, every one of those I survived books. They've got this kid running like this. Like, I survived the tsunami. I survived this. And so I photoshopped this kid running, and I put it in there. And I'm thinking, let's get excited. The kids excited about Jamestown. So I show them this, and we're talking about. And then one kid raises his hand and says, "Mr. Burden, where's he running to?" And I thought about it for a second. It's like, he's stuck in Jamestown. He's not like he can just run to the next city, And I really, but that's when I was like, all right, let's get through it. But it's there's so much that people don't understand that we have to do.
Exactly.
And I had a very eye-opening moment one time, because I think you would agree that I had a reputation for managing my class very well.
Gosh. I think look, as somebody who, again, teaches the entire school, I knew from day one, and I'm not just saying that because you and I are having this conversation right now, because I just wouldn't say anything. But yes, God, Mr. Burden, absolutely one of the best managed classes I've ever taught. And by managed, we mean all sides of it. We mean the discipline was there, but the family setting was locked in. It was so easy to teach your class because of that.
And they would manage each other. Like
Yes,
they
they
would like,
would.
dude, you need to
Get it
you need to
together.
shut up and Miss Pan. Miss
Yeah,
Pan's
yeah.
gonna tell Mr.
Sit
Bergman,
down.
and we
That's
don't get the purple.
that's it.
You know,
Yeah, that's it.
and that
But
and,
that's
and
exactly it.
but that's it. And I fancy myself that. But again, it's one of those things where you constantly have to be a student of your own business.
Yeah.
And I was constantly learning. And again, that this further made that whole PBIS meeting in the summer fun, because I was like, I got I don't want to say argument, but I get in a debate with one of the experts for PBIS, because they were trashing the ribbon and the clipper system. And the clipper system worked because, but it was because I built the community around it.
Exactly.
And it was the philosophy of, you might have a red or a yellow day today, but tomorrow you're back on green.
Yeah.
Plus you have an opportunity to go to purple, or you have an opportunity to get back. There was this whole thing. And I was debating, going back and forth, and her argument was, well, the studies show that it's harmful and is more detrimental. And I said, what study? And they gave the studies, and I said,
which ones?
I'm a study.
Yeah.
And I said, I am the data. I went to this whole thing. And again, I say this without ego, because it's not easy, because it takes a lot out of your soul to do this. But plus, I'm constantly learning how new ways. And every year I'm getting a new crop of students, new personalities that I got to figure out how to manipulate.
Yeah.
But one thing that was pointed out to me, one of my students, she rock star student. I mean, she's probably going to be president, and one that we would actually, she won't, because we would want to vote for her. So they'll never put her in as president. But she had this, she was really like, not, I don't want to say straight APs, but like she was very, very, always doing the assignments very well, but very, very calm, cool-headed, a good leader. And she one time just got real mad one time, and I picked them up from music, and I picked them up from art. It was from this win, and she was upset. And I was like, that was rare, because she's never upset. Like, she's one of the most calm students I've had. And I pulled her aside, and she told me, actually, I talked to her a little bit, and she said, it's nothing, it's gonna be fine. And I said, are you sure we can talk later? She was fine. I find out from her mom later that what she was upset about, because I was curious to shout mom a note, and she talked to her, and the mom addressed it with me too, and she said that the issue was she hates going to art. And I was like, I'm thinking, like, this win's awesome.
Yeah.
What they do that, like, I would want to trade places to go to art.
Right.
But her issue was not with Miss Wynn. Her issue was not with anything that they were doing. The issue was that some of the kids couldn't control themselves, and would ruin our chances at getting the golden paintbrush. And what her issue was really, and it really set me back to really think about behavior management, was her issue was she could be perfect.
Yeah.
And yet she's still judged by these clowns that ruin it for her. And then she also brought up that I tend to focus on those kids that need that constant behavior management. That I was ignoring the kids that were that were always on point. The kids that were always getting like purple, always doing their thing, that I wasn't giving them attention. And it really made me step back and think about it.
And it's hard too. It's hard to it's hard to be in tune with all that. It's hard to address it all. I'll be honest and say, I have, since I lost my classroom to that other school, I actually moved away from the point system. I moved away from it initially, which you remember all that. The 5-point day and all that. So I had used it forever, and I actually moved away from it just because it was the year that I lost my classroom. I had to downsize into that other space, and I had so much else going on. Even though that routine had been in place, with so many other things being upended in the building, I didn't feel I could accurately use the system anymore. Like on me. I'm like, we're in a totally different scenario now. I don't even know, like, how am I going to award points to a class that's, having music in this room with cardboard boxes everywhere because I didn't have enough time to set it up, and it's a fraction of the size of our old space, so, and I'm like, I'll do it later. I'll start doing it later. And honestly, I never started it back up, and then I didn't miss it because it was just easier. That was also the year that I had the crazy schedule.
Mm-hmm.
It was just easier to tell the teachers quickly, yeah, we had a good day. That one, no, but everybody else was fine. See ya. It was easier. It was easier and it was less work, but that's a change I probably never would have made if I didn't have to change rooms and go through such a ridiculous, stressful change anyway. And now our current art teacher, she's always used the point system and still does, and it works for her, and that's great. And again, it worked for me for many years. But when I stopped using it, I didn't miss it. So, like, well, I'm moving on from it.
What you're saying, Jill, is the Thorogood the Thorogood years at Hermitage, where Thorogood had the portable village. Those
portable
were
village
positive.
plus my room.
Yeah, those were so that had a positive effect on your teacher. That was
not at all.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Because for those people that don't know, a lot was kind of shown to us about a lot of things. The Thorogood Elementary, which aside from ODS, Thorogood had a reputation of my kid goes to Thorogood. Like that is one of those, one of the, let's be honest, it's one of the elementary schools that the ladies at brunch like to say their kid goes to. Oh yeah,
true. The ladies up front,
and they had redesigned this new. They were next on the list for the redesign. Now, having said this, Hermitage had been redesigned before I got there. It was one of the newer schools. I mean, you can see it because anytime you see this, they're pretty much the same layout as
that prototype.
Same prototype. But Thorogood was not getting that prototype. Thorogood was getting the Magic Donut. Something. It was some kind of
the Kellum High School shrunk down thing. Yeah,
Kellum High School students designed the Thorogood Elementary, and it was going to have this tree in the middle, and it was going to be all this. It was going to be green.
Yes, it
was going to be eco-friendly, and and somehow it was going to save the whales, and who knows?
Yes,
it had all these things.
Spew gold coins.
Yeah, exactly. It was just going to every time you walked indoors, like
yeah.
So and magically it was going to. So it was this magic
magic
school.
Yeah, magic
elementary school. Yeah. So, but in order to do that, it was going to take at least a couple of years of construction, and so they had a problem with where are we going to put the Thorogood elementary students and teachers and everybody.
And by the way, this is 2018.
2018.
Yeah, 2018.
So the decision was they had all these portable classrooms that they just were sitting there. So that they created the portable village.
Yeah.
So they took our PE field and distributed, set up this entire, they had it gated off. They had this, they put the administrative building security. They basically created a open air, I don't say open air, but it was a portable village classroom where, you would walk from classroom to classroom to portable to portable. And it was this village. So it not only, but it didn't stop there because they had to have a cafeteria. And the cafeteria, what was taken for our cafeteria was what we called our special programs room.
Yep.
And then they also needed their own gym because they couldn't have PE the same time we had PE because but also so they took over your music room.
My room
became their PE room.
Yeah.
And so, which again, we could talk all day long about location, but so when it happens, we had to share, and of course that means if they're using a room inside our school for their cafeteria and PE, that means Thorogood students are walking our halls, to get to these places.
Yep, using our restrooms.
Yep, using our restrooms. They're deeply woven. Now, I would argue, and I felt like a lot of people felt this way. Maybe other people did, maybe you didn't. I felt like as far as the teachers, for the most part, I got along with the Thorogood teacher.
Mm.
Maybe not always. There were times where I kind of felt like there was a bit of
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
but the ones I interacted with were super cool.
Yeah.
I did have an incident where a student left the Hermitage Robotics Club and went to the Thorogood Robotics Club against her own will.
You mean
mom
that student transferred schools, right?
transferred to Thorogood, but
Yeah.
Thorogood was still on campus.
Right.
And so it was real
do remember
weird why
that.
that happened. And it
Yeah.
was a real kind of interesting thing. And I mean, there's stuff we don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
But my question to you, looking at what did we learn from the 2 years of Thorogood on our campus?
What did
well, like what did it reveal to us about schools?
Well, sadly it revealed that that they were gonna once a decision is made, you know, no longer caring about any of the negatives, you know. I honestly I guess I still don't know why we were picked, why our campus was the one. I know the reasons we were given, but to me it just doesn't seem like enough to absolutely upend a functioning campus to to do this.
I think it's important to point out that we got our new administrator that we love so dearly for this.
Yeah.
And I think our previous administrator would not have put up with
it. I agree with that. And so I'm certain that again, the reasons we were told, I'm certain that the new administrator was put in place to largely to say yes to all of this. But even still, it's like the idea in the first place to upend one school to,
it speaks volumes to, to basically say this is what we think of your school, that we're going to take away a lot for you for this other school.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, there is there are people that know more than I do about it, and there are probably several options, but it is kind of a to us.
Yeah.
But then that also masked a lot of the issues we had that weren't directly related to Thorogood became Thorogood issues.
Yeah.
And if you remember, we had a full-on staff meeting with the superintendent and I believe some of the other bigwigs. Yeah. And the conclusion was morale at our school was so low because of Thorogood.
Yeah, I do recall that.
I don't think many of us really felt that. Like that's where the 8% came from.
I recall that. I recall somebody standing up and asking if the superintendent had had a chance to review the school climate survey.
Yeah, and our survey was 8%. That means 8% of of the staff felt good, positive about the school climate. So and that became kind of and that was a hot button. But it was what were your thoughts on that and how that whole thing went down?
Man, again, where to start, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they got out of it what they hoped for. Not only the plan itself, but the accommodation, the level of accommodation from the administrator involved in that decision. I wonder if they got everything that they wanted, because
they definitely got a gold star for that.
A gold star, golden jeans pass. Yeah, man.
I think let's talk real quick. I want to talk about you, and we got to wrap up because we're almost at 2 hours. We can do another 2 hours, and I'd love to do this again.
Right.
As we get closer to fall.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the concept of jeans passes.
Oh God.
So, and again, I cannot confirm or deny that there is
Right.
a black market jeans pass operation anywhere, but it's effective. And
Yeah.
just it's kind of like don't if it's a good thing going, don't ruin it for other people. But
right.
the whole concept of jeans passes as a reward. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh my, yeah, I think it's something that started out as years and years ago. I'm talking all the way back to the start of my career in a different city, different school. To get something like that every so often worked out okay, dare I say. But I think it has completely morphed into this, concept of a cure-all, fix-all, demeaning,
Yeah.
demeaning, backhanded reward system. I will say that I recently had a conversation with two non-teachers. They are neither of these people are teachers. Neither of them have children. So they have, and both of them are in their 30s. They have just absolutely no connection to public school, public education right now, and they haven't since they themselves were students. So they know nothing about the state of education, and I think they're like tone deaf to it all. And good for them. Anyway, so the two of them, like I said, neither of them have anything to do with education. And I was having a casual conversation with both of them recently, and I brought up something about jeans coupon or jeans pass or something, and both of them stopped me and they were like, what? Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm like, you've seen that, come on. They're like, both of them, no, like, what? And so I explained it to them, and I mean, they were like, go on, like tell us more.
Fascinated.
Are you yes, fascinated, like sadly fascinated.
Yeah, morbidly fascinated. Yeah.
And again, and these are people that I talk to pretty regularly too, and I'm like, I can't believe this has never come up. But but then again, maybe I just figured everybody knew, and I don't know, like, but they went from being fascinated to appalled to just laughing hysterically at the entire thing, because they're like, there is so much to unpack with a concept like that. Like, wait a second, it's where do you begin there? And they're like, well, and again, neither of these people have children, and they have no connection to the schools, but they're like, I would like to think that I wouldn't care what my teacher wears.
How did you explain it to him what a jeans pass was?
Oh God, how did I start? I think I think I said it's it's used for reward. I'm like, it's like a like a reward. It is.
I bet it was like an American citizen talking to somebody that came from North Korea. And them explaining that they had like a breathing coupon or something like and the concept is for those that don't know what a jeans pass is and if you've been watching my show really, you know, because the joke with the jeans pass jackpot, right. Essentially it was that it allowed you to wear jeans with an approved shirt. It had to be like a spirit wear, but you're allowed to wear jeans instead of like teacher attire, slacks or teacher attire, which
trousers,
and what's first of all, the funny part is today's fashion.
Oh God,
very rare. Like you're talking people that wear jeans. Some teachers enjoy wearing jeans. That makes them comfortable, but there's a lot of teachers they don't. But I don't care for jeans. I'm not comfortable in jeans. I'm much more comfortable in a nice pair of slacks. They breathe. It's a lot easier. And then some teachers some teachers were very covert because they would wear dark coat. They would wear non-blue jeans.
Khaki colored jeans.
But the concept itself is a bit asinine because what it was is it gave you permission. And like if I always use the analogy, okay, two teachers walking down the like Jill Kane and Lauren Wynn walking down the hall.
Yep.
Both are wearing blue jeans.
Yep.
Lauren Wynn has a jeans pass.
Yep.
Jill Kane does not. Who
Does
looks
not.
more professional?
Exactly.
And the argument was that
Exactly.
that you weren't allowed to wear jeans normally because it's unprofessional.
Exactly.
And parents would have a demeanor more.
Yeah.
Get this, parents would not have respect teachers wearing blue jeans,
Right.
Because they respect us otherwise. But
right.
yeah, but like a teacher wearing blue jeans, it's disrespectful. But
Right.
you have two teachers walking down the hall, both wearing blue jeans. Is the parent going to go, well, I'm glad Mrs. Wynn is wearing blue jeans. I respect her because I know in the office she has a jeans pass cashed in.
Yeah.
But Jill Kane, oh no, she's not respectful because and it really is. It's like a dog biscuit.
Yes,
it's a dog biscuit. It's a matter of controlling us.
Yep, and not only that, and something that escalated this year. Well, no, I shouldn't say this year. This has been escalating since we got our current administration. But let's say dog biscuit aside, because that's exactly what it is. Let's say we bought into this. Let's say we agreed with it just for a second.
Yeah.
How you earn a jeans coupon is very unclear.
Yeah.
I got one once for coming to school on a Friday.
But you got one for being an ambassador to
it's a Seesaw. Yeah. No. That was. Oh, did I? Yeah. No, I did. Yeah, you're right.
You probably did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yep. Seesaw. Yeah, exactly. But then meanwhile, I'd go for a stretch of time, showing up, doing what I'm supposed to do, and no jeans tickets in my mailbox or whatever. So it's like, well, wait a second. Well, I thought I was earning them regularly by, I don't know, doing what I'm supposed to do. So how come I haven't gotten one lately? Then there's, again, if you're going to buy into it, it's like, there's no consistency here either, or you can't say, well, gee, if you come to school for 4 consecutive Fridays, you'll earn a jeans coupon, now, but I mean, there wasn't that, like, I couldn't work towards a jeans coupon. It was just, taking it to that extra level of control. It's just whenever they feel like giving them out,
Yeah.
Now this year, Mr. Burden, it's too bad that you weren't here for this year, because this year teachers had the opportunity to earn tickets, and you earned a ticket just by existing and being noticed. And if you got a ticket, you could put the ticket in, you could write your name on it, and you could put your ticket in the birdhouse. In the birdhouse, and then
because that matches Viking, but
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, and then and then once a month, they will pull tickets out of the birdhouse, and the winner might get a jeans coupon. Might, or you might get something else, like a package of napkins.
Yes. All right. I heard about the napkins.
Yes. I was going to say, this is true. Yes. A 4th grade teacher was so excited that her ticket got pulled. She loves her jeans. She was like, oh my God, I've been waiting all month for the drawing, and I can't believe they pulled my ticket. And she went down to the office to collect her prize, and she thought sure it'd be a jeans pass, and it was a package of napkins.
Cocktail napkins.
That were open, by the way.
Yes.
Like, I think a napkin or two had been removed from the package. But what the heck?
Hey,
what the heck?
All right. I gotta ask you, are you down for a part 2 of this?
Yes.
We're about to hit the 2-hour mark. And I've got to stop at 2 hours. But there's things I want to talk to you about. So we're gonna stop. This is part 1 with Jill Kane Uncensored. Catch full episodes of the Educators podcast every Thursday at 4 p.m. Real educators with the real issues in education. Thank you so much for watching. And, of course, take care of yourself. Jeans passes anyone who likes, shares, and comments on this video. Have a great week.